on this episode. Now, before I give you the bottom line on how to use or how I use social media, let me take you back to August of 2003. That's when MySpace launched. A lot of you have no idea what I'm talking about, right? If you're fairly young. So, but it was the first social media to reach a global audience. It was the end all be all of all the online world. And it was for a few years. And then it pretty much disappeared off the face of the earth. Now, having been around as long as I have been, and I've seen places like Friendster that actually preceded MySpace, and it quickly went to like 2 million users, and then MySpace killed it. And I mean, even Google had Google Plus, and it failed. Some of you may remember Vine that pretty much died on the vine, and that is a intended pun right there. Right? After working the internet through all these failures, I mean, I've been doing this 7 days a week for 28 years. Right? I became quite skeptical about jumping on bandwagons. Heck, I didn't actively fool around with Facebook until it had 1 billion users. That's the absolute truth. I had an account there, but I didn't even look at the thing until it had 1 billion users. Now, the other reason I was skeptical about putting too much effort into these platforms is that I knew any following that I gained did not belong to me. And that's the same with you. When you're bragging about how many followers you have, they do not belong to you. They belong to the platform that you're on. See, one turn of the Facebook dial, and guess what? They turned that dial quite a bit over the years, and you would reach less and less of your following. In other words, you aren't in control of the people you attract to your various social media platforms. Now, long before social media as we know it today came around, I was concentrating on email and building my email list. This is something I could control, and no one could take away my subscribers. And I maintain this attitude today. And if truth be told, everyone at my level makes the bulk of their money from email, not from social media, which brings me to the bottom line of how I treat social media. Now, virtually everything I do on social media for my own business, okay, I'm talking about for me, because yes, I have to know all the intricate details of Instagram and Facebook and all, Facebook ads and all these things that I have to know to help my students and mentees who want to do those kinds of things. I still encourage them to get people on an email list, but yeah, some people are really into the social media, and that's my obligation to teach them how to do it properly. But anyway, I personally use it in the way that I make every effort to get people off of the various social media platforms. Doesn't mean they have to leave following me on social media. It just means that I want to get them off of there onto an email list. You can take that to the bank, folks, but that's just the background of why I do what I do and not really the topic of this episode. The topic of this episode is to inform you of how things work. So, working your social media takes way less time and gets you greater results. Many of you are spending more time doing things incorrectly to get less results. So, how crazy is that? All right, so let's switch to a different kind of bottom line for a moment. Almost all the social media platforms, with the exception of Pinterest. Now, let me take a sidebar here. I want you to listen. If you're interested in Pinterest, it's really great. People spend more money on Pinterest than the other media platforms by a lot more, like 6, 7, 8 times as much. And they encourage you to get people to go off Pinterest. I mean, it's crazy. But anyway, I have 3 episodes, a beginner, intermediate, and advanced on Pinterest. So episode 511 is beginner, 514 is intermediate, and 517 is advanced. And it also leads you to a webinar all about Pinterest. So I encourage you to go do that. And of course, screw the